What's up YouTube, this is Paul from Mickey Tech Tips, and today we're going to be talking about AMD's new Zen announcement. They also called it the new Horizons announcement because it's going to be um, breath-changing, they claim, in the PC industry. So I guess let's get started. Okay, I guess let's fill in on some back information about Zen. Okay, so last thing AMD really announced, released on processor wise that was somewhat not breathtaking, but it was somewhat different, was the Kaveri APUs because they had really good onboard graphics. And that was a couple years ago. And basically anything after that hasn't been that much, and even before that really hasn't been that much. They released some FX processors, which I think that was back in 2013 too. But anyway, um, anything AMD's released in the past 5 years is based on old architecture basically. So anyway, since then Intel's released a couple new generations of processors. So AMD's fallen behind. So what happened was that Zen's been delayed a couple for a little bit now because they were having problems with USB 3.1. They were having problems with some other things too. And so the first time they actually showed off a Zen processor was at the Computex event back in late May, early June. I'll have a link to it in the description below or up in the card up in the corner. But anyway, um, so I didn't care for that presentation, and it's not because of what they announced, because they announced the RX 480, and then they also announced a few other little things, and then they showed off the Zen Summit Ridge CPU, which was the 8-core 16-thread CPU, and then they also showed off the Naples CPU, which is a 16-core 32-thread or 16-core 64-thread, which I don't know how they're achieving that, because I thought that when you put some kind of version of like hyperthreading, which is Intel's own version of putting more threads on it than cores, I thought you could only go double, but I guess AMD's got some technology on there now that's underlying on it, which I'll talk about some of the new technology that they talked about with Zen. So, but anyway, so they released that. I wasn't really too pleased because they were showing off one test, and that was a Blender test, which, by the way, people thought it was just rigged in Intel's favor, and at that point in time, I think they were still using a 5960X because the replacement for it, the 6900K, which both of them are a 8-core 16-thread processors. I don't think the 6900K had came out yet, so they're using the old 5960X, which actually wasn't too much of a difference. But anyway, so actually no, they were using 6900K. But anyway, so they were using that. They showed off one test, which was a Blender test. People thought it was rigged in Intel, not Intel's, but AMD's favor. And then it just left me uneasy because that was the only thing they showed off. They didn't really show much about it. And then fast forward a little bit, so also in this past summer, so it was either in July or August, whenever the Intel Developer Forum was, AMD hosted a small press event like right down the road from it to get press in there, and then showed off some more AMD Zen related stuff. They had systems put together with the Naples server CPUs in there, and then the Zen CPU. So they showed that off. I was still kind of uneasy about it because there wasn't much to that. I think they're just them showing it off. And then fast forward to now. So last week they had a press event that was about Vega, and they showed off some of Ryzen. But the thing was, the only thing that we heard about that event was this past Monday, which was the December 12th, and that was just for the Vega stuff. And then we didn't hear anything about the Ryzen stuff until someone put something about it online last night. But even then, it didn't make much of a difference because they had the announcement today. But anyway, so let's fast forward today to today now. So basically, what happened was they took and did the name change. They changed it to Ryzen, RYZEN. Again, I'll have a picture like off to the side. But anyway, so they did that. Then they started doing their test, which kind of I want to believe that they're kind of rigged in a way. So they showed off some test against the 6900K. The first test was a Blender test, which was a retail copy. In fact, they showed more of the Blender application off this time. So they ran that, and then they ran Handbrake, which Handbrake beat it by 5 seconds, which is a encoding program. So they ran the test from that, and then they ran off some game demos, which was funny because they were using NVIDIA Titan X's, and then I think it's because those are the fastest cards on the market right now, and they probably don't have anything fast enough to do that yet, or they don't want to have to show off that they are running unreleased stuff yet. So anyway, they ran systems on that, and apparently it was still getting better frame rates with the Ryzen processor. I'm gonna call that now, but I'll probably switch back and forth between that and Zen. But anyway, so they showed a couple of them off, including some mixed virtual reality ones. And they showed off a couple streaming ones, so they compared it against a 6900K, and then they also compared it against a 6700K, which, keep in mind, 6700K is a Skylake processor. It's a consumer one. It's 4 cores, 4 threads. They're showing it off because there was an argument saying, oh, don't get the extreme one because they're not great for gaming. So there's arguments about that. So they're showing that i7 and then the 6900K. So they're showing off against an Intel 4-core. Actually, it would be 4-core, 8-thread processor, and then a 8-core, 16-thread processor. So they're showing those two demos off. Oh, by the way, that's just an Ethernet cable I put up on the wall without it sleeving on it. Anyway, so they're showing those demos off, which I kind of felt were rigged because they were showing off this game capture from the game on the Intel system, and it was super laggy, which, by the way, my Xeon in my system's equivalent to an i5 6600. I'm not saying K because Xeon is not unlocked. I'm not going to go through what... Actually, yeah, an unlocked means you can overclock it, but anyway. So they're showing off, comparing it to Intel chips, and that streaming, it seemed rigged because it seemed more laggy than what it is, because I've live streamed before. You can go back and watch some of the replays. Of course, they're not that great, and just because I need to throw more RAM in my PC, but anyway. So I went, that's kind of a little bit rigged because I can get somewhat decent performance if I'm streaming and playing games at the same time. And the whole argument was that people go build 2 PCs so they can have the optimal streaming setup, and you don't have to do that for Ryzen. So I'm thinking, okay, so I think this is a little bit biased. But anyway, fast forward, they also talked about the AMD Sense MI technology. You can see a picture of the of it in the background, and there's more than just 2 features on there that just highlighted 2 of them at that point in time. But anyway, so some of the new features on that is it's supposed to use machine learning to learn the instruction sets. It's kind of like muscle memory, so it'll be able to pull stuff up faster. So keep in mind, instruction sets are basically how many instructions can it do from a program at a time. So you could have a quad core from a couple years ago, and a quad core from now, and the one from now is probably going to perform better because it's got more instruction sets. So that's supposed to load it faster. They had some other neat ones like power efficiencies. They also, by the way, they announced a lower TDP on the chip, which is basically the amount of power it consumes in the Intel 6900K. They're really comparing it to that, so yeah. So anyway, they're showing that off. They showed off a few other efficiencies, and improvements. I have a picture overlaying it, showing off some of the different ones. But anyway, so my favorite one out of that was the turbo clock. So right now, Intel's got a turbo clock. It only goes up so fast, only to a certain, not fast, but it only goes up to a certain frequency. And that can be a bummer because if you have the cooling, it might not ever go past it. Whereas this one, what AMD does, they said they can detect if you're on air cooling, water cooling. They even said liquid nitrogen, because there are some people that will do overclocking records of liquid nitrogen, which, by the way, is not practical, so don't ever go try that. Anyway, so they're talking about that, so I'm kind of curious to see where it works. especially under a liquid nitrogen demo, because if it works and they could get it to clock up to that much, then they could probably even push it further with overclocking. But anyway, that would even make it easier, so then people could build liquid cooled PCs and not even have to worry about overclocking it, because it would overclock it automatically. So it'd be interesting to see that. What else was there? They also at the end, so they showed off a PC with a Ryzen CPU, and then the GPU was a, what was it? It was a Vega GPU. So they put a leak out there, showing off last night, showing off Vega with like 8 gigabytes of HBM2 memory, which is supposed to be really fast memory compared to the current GDDR5 or GDDR5X memory. So it's supposed to be really fast. But anyway, so they put a leak out there because someone found that from the press event, and so they didn't really talk much about it. But they did take and run games. Actually, not run games. They ran one game. It was the Battlefront, the Star Wars Battlefront with the Star Wars Rogue One DLC that was unreleased. So they ran that. That was the only thing they ran. Apparently, it was playing it at 4K. I don't know what detail it was set on. And they said it was well above 60 frames per second. That was the only thing they showed off. Now, they did have to wait a minute to load that demo, and I think it's because the program was being stupid or something, because they had to join into a private server to run it or something like that. But anyway, so they're showing that off. So that means Vega's not too far. Intel's going to have a run for the money. By the way, I posted a picture on social media. I'll have it overlaid. I put, here's the competition to this lady, and it's a picture of AMD's CEO, because she gave the presentation the whole time, just about, except when she passed off to other people, but it was mainly her giving the presentation, and I took and I had another window on top of it, right next to her when she was presenting of Intel CEO, so I'll have that overlaid. But it was kind of funny because I put, here's the competition, AMD CEO versus Intel CEO, which they both give out good speeches, so good job on them. But anyway, so it was interesting because they're showing off Vega. So that means Vega's not too far away. So I'm really hoping to see AMD make a comeback, because they were the go-to gaming place for gaming PCs for years, and they died off for a little bit because Intel, even though they cost more money, had constant and better performance. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see that. They're supposed to be releasing stuff Q1 of next year. At least they're going to be releasing the first part of Ryzen CPUs. There should be kind of APUs for Ryzen soon, at some point next year, or even 2018. And they're also going to be releasing Vega at some point next year. And there's going to be 2 Vegas, Vega 10 and supposedly also Vega 11, just like those Polaris 10 and Polaris 11 on AMD. And it's going to be, the Vega 11 is going to be better than 10 compared to when it was Polaris. 10 was better than 11, which makes no sense on how these GPU numbers work, but oh well. Anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see that at some point next year when Vega comes out. It's going to be really interesting to see when they come out the new APUs from AMD, because that's going to be the consumer grade stuff and the just entry level stuff. So that's going to be really interesting. So I think sounds like that might be coming out at some point next year. So probably expect that the last half. By the way, got an announcement to make. So my PC, good old electric bicycle. So I'm going to be doing some minor upgrades to it. Well, I may decide to put a Zen CPU in now. I'm still on the fence about it. Supposedly people said it was going to cost about around $500. They didn't say a pricing on it, but if that's true, then that'll be super cheap, because right now for an Intel i7 for a 4-core 8-thread one, for the 6700K is around $350. I think it went down a little bit because Kaby Lake's fixed to come out, but anyway, so if that holds to be true for that 8-core processor, I think I will ditch Intel, even though I just built this PC not too long ago. But I'm going to be doing some upgrades to it soon. But anyway, I would probably ditch Intel and go to AMD. So I'm waiting to see that. Depending on how Vega goes, I might even go to Vega. Now, for now, I am going to be swapping that 970 out for a 1070, because that 970, I made the mistake of not selling it after the speculations of the 1070 and 1080 came out. So I made the mistake of not sounding go and buying a 1080, not 1080, but 1070. So I'm gonna probably end up taking and replacing that 970 for now with a 1070. Even though the 970 works fine, I kind of want to just go for a newer card just for stuff like power efficiency and some other new features. That's just a different topic. But anyway, so I'll probably switch out to Pascal, which, by the way, that won't be a waste because if I... Okay, so anyway, um, um, as I was saying, so I'm going to probably switch to Pascal. Pascal's going to be great. We already know it's great. I'm going to switch to that, which is a NVIDIA GTX 1070 or 1080. They got other ones too, but I'm going to go with 1070 because 1070 is fine for me. And even if I end up switching to Vega, which I'm still going to be on the fence about it, even if it is better, because by then I would have dropped the money on a 1070. But anyway, even if I switch, I can make use of the 1070 and my current components as it is, and probably like a LAN PC or like some other PC, or maybe even upgrade my media center PC. But anyway, so I'll probably make the switch to Pascal. I'll also probably make the switch to actually, I know I'm making the switch to Pascal, but I'll probably make the switch to Ryzen. It actually rhymes with Horizon, so they did that on purpose, I think. But anyway, so I'm gonna probably do those upgrades to my PC. So expect that next year at some point. Because another thing is I want to go with the higher core count, but I was waiting to figure out some reasonably priced way to do it. So I think I found my way to do it. And then it's going to be a great year next year for computer building. So for right now, you probably should hold off on building PCs. And I'm really curious to see how the consumer Ryzen processors play out, because I want to upgrade that media center PC because I paid actually not much money. I paid total cost of that media center PC, which you'll see in my whenever I get that video done, was less than what not the i5, but the Xeon that's in my PC now cost. I mean, it's like less than half. So I'm going to cover that. But anyway, I'm going to show that system off. But I'm going to be doing an upgrade to that. So it's going to be really neat. Intel, you got to run for your money. So you better start releasing. Actually, you may want to start skipping stuff. And just releasing stuff that you're having like sitting around that you've just been waiting to release. Also, another thing to watch out for next year is Kaby Lake. So that's going to be Intel's new architecture. So it's going to start with the consumer one, and then probably within either next year, it'll probably be more than likely the year after, because Broadway E just came out. So it'll probably be like 2018. They'll be releasing Skylake E, and then which, by the way, that architecture is like one cycle behind. But anyway, so they're going to be releasing Kaby Lake, and then go from there with Skylake E or / Kaby Lake E. No, I mean Kaby Lake X. I actually do not know the naming scheme anymore because there's been so many leaks. So that sounds like they might be changing it. I don't know. Anyway, it's going to be really interesting next year. So you might want to wait until the middle of next year to build a PC, because you might get a better bang for your buck if you wait. I'm really curious to see if they come out with a 6-core, 12-thread processor, because if they do, that would really put a really big competition on Intel with their regular 4-core, 8-thread processor that they'll have right now. So I'd say stay tuned. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. I really enjoy doing these videos. So yeah, go AMD. Keep up the good work, I guess. AMD is officially back, for at least now.